Okay, welcome everyone. Really exciting announcement today, and great to be on a call with Brian and Jarrett from the Enterprise DNA Experts team. Today, we're here to talk about a brand new course that we're launching on the Enterprise DNA platform. And this course is going to be titled Mastering Report Development from Start to Finish. I think it's a really great course module to add to our catalog of courses within the portal. I think it brings together a lot of the learnings that we've had from running a number of different Power BI challenges over the last quarter or last half year. We've internally had a lot of learnings, and Jarrett has been a huge participant in that, and I think himself has got a lot of learnings out of it. And so we've decided to bring that all together into a course module so that everyone who is a member or who has access to our platform can benefit from all of the insights and interesting techniques that we have been able to bring together through this collective participation in Power BI development. So Jarrett, welcome guys. And Jarrett, why don't I just throw to you and maybe just do a really quick intro around yourself, so everyone can sort of get to know you and learn learn about what expertise you bring to this particular course, and then maybe just jump into the course a little bit and tell us a little bit about what's in it and how you went about creating it.
Okay, yeah, thanks again for having me, Sam. Once again, Jarrett Moore, and I started Power BI development back in January of 17, and it was around June or July of 2017 is when I started building this, not only for the company I work for, but clients around the US and Canada. So I do have, a little over 4 years experience in Power BI. That's my background sort of with Power BI. Been a member with Enterprise DNA for, I think it was 2017 when I joined you as well. So I've been pretty much with you from the start of my Power BI journey. So a lot of what I've learned and continue to learn, it has been definitely learned from Enterprise DNA. And how I come up with with this course is but typically what we have going on right now. You started a new initiative, towards the end of last year with the Power BI challenges, and we did have some great participation. But I'm sure that you would probably agree that we could probably definitely encourage more folks to do to participate in this, especially with some of the entries that are entered into the challenges. It can be a little bit intimidating to see what some of the folks post, and if you're somewhat new to Power BI, you may be a little hesitant to post your efforts after seeing what's been posted to there. So after talking with Brian, that's on the call here as well, we sort of come up with the idea that we needed to come up with a course that would basically not only handle this challenge initiative, but also you could tackle this for any kind of report building that you're doing in Power BI, basically kind of a start to finish model. So you could have an outline or a plan of how to put something together to not only put a Power BI project together, but if you wanted to compete in one of the challenges here, this course should help outlay and help you proceed to making that entry if you haven't already entered one.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, as we all agree, and I've said this many times on reviewing submissions and reviewing what's going on in the challenges specifically, that there is no better learning experience out there than participating in one of our challenges that we put on. There's just so much to learn from diving into unique data sets and developing things yourself, but also just leveraging off what others are doing, just being able to get inspired around creative ways that you can analyze things, creative navigation experiences that you can build into your reports. And so I think this is a brilliant initiative as part of our content in our portal to actually showcase like how to develop a report it could be a challenge. It could be anything it could be just within your own business, but to how to develop a report from start to finish, from evaluating a brief to actually implementing it in your particular model. So maybe give us a bit more of an outline of how how the course is structured and how you think, how you recommend users to or those connected to Enterprise DNA to work through it.
Well, I think that the best approach to this course is probably going to be watching it in sequential order from start to finish. Even if you're a beginner, even to if you're an intermediate or you proclaim yourself as a Power BI expert, I think you'll definitely benefit or maybe pick up a few nuggets along the way. But to best get the most out of this course, I think that you need to start this from start to finish, and that's the best way to proceed with this.
And talk us through a little bit about the content. So what sort of scenario are you working through, and what are some of the things and some of the features and techniques that you showcase?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of it is in the description of the course from kind of start to finish. So I kind of bring you from point A of, basically an example of one of the challenges that when we received the brief with all the data, the steps that I take in order to prepare the data model even before I start doing any kind of complicated DAX or any measures like that. So as basic as, picking the right color theme, and then, picking, not after you have your colors, then setting up your data model correctly before you even get into any of the DAX. And then once you have the DAX ready, then you need to, how to lay out each one of the slides, and basically I definitely use your measure branching technique. So a lot of the DAX that I create along the way, you build this base building DAX, and then you can add on to that as you add more measures to your model there. And then as I progress through the course, it does get a little bit more intermediate, as I do cover some new features that have recently been added into Power BI with the zoom sliders, with the anomaly detection, and the smart narrative. So I do touch on that a little bit as well, since I had that in the course as well.
Nice. Jarrett, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your overall design philosophy, because when we were talking about doing this course, one of the things that jumped out to me is you're always cranking out really top-notch entries, but you're not using a lot of custom visuals. You're not using a lot of esoteric techniques. You're really sticking primarily with what's kind of in the standard box in Power BI. And I think that really sets people up well for this course in terms of, not needing a lot of extras, that, what you've got in kind of the garden variety Power BI is enough to really produce an outstanding report. And I wonder if you could talk about kind of your philosophy and kind of adhering to that kind of Power BI standard, standard visual, standard approach, but using it in creative ways to generate these great entries.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say that a lot of the clients that I build Power BI models throughout time are, I don't want to call the clients basic, but a lot of them, if I were to add visuals that were custom visuals or things like that, it might confuse the client. So I've just had it as the best practice, basically just using the KISS principle, keep it simple for the students, and tried to stick with basically what's within the Power BI, if you want to call it a kit. If you were to open up Power BI out of the box, this is what you get. And, here's how you can build a model with that right there. Now, can you add all kind of fancy custom visuals and things like that? Yes, you can. But you have to know your audience. And I think that's where a lot of people, in what I've seen kind of go wrong is they don't know the audience, and they try to either add too much or too little upon that. But I've always, especially with my clients, is try to keep it as simple as possible. basically just for the understanding, so they understand, how the report is structured and how to use it, because I think that's another issue that we get into with a lot of these Power BI reports, is even with some advanced custom visuals, is it looks great, but how do I use it, or how do I interpret it?
Yeah, I think that's a great approach.
And I really, this is as real world as it gets, right? It's this content is as practical as can be around Power BI development. It's not focused on a specific area per se. It's about how do you create a report from all the way from inception to completion, and how do you deliver a report that is going to add value to your audience, to your stakeholders. And it actually follows on from a lot of the things that we talk about in some of the other courses, especially in the Power BI workshop course, where Power BI development is not just about one thing; it's about the 4 pillars. And I think those being querying and transforming data modeling, DAX calculations, and visualizations. And this is all about a practical example of, if you master all those key pillars of Power BI, then you can come up with some really compelling reports and insights that are going to make a difference. And that is one of the really exciting things for me for releasing a course around this sort of content.
Mm-hmm.
Jarrett, I'm wondering if you can jump in and pop up your challenge entry on this, the report that you based this course around, and just kind of show people what you started with and where you ended up on.
Yeah, give me just a second, Brian. I don't have the file up right now. I'd have to get the file up here. So give me just a second to get that up.
Brian, you've actually had an opportunity to quickly run through this particular course before we actually fully release it at time of recording this. What are some of your key takeaways that you can suggest to or tell others that they will gain from taking this once it's completely released on the portal?
Yeah, I've actually been through it twice and learned stuff each time I went through it. And I think one of the things that I like best about it is it really is a very logical, linear approach to developing a report. That it's as I say, from the start of that brief until the completion of the report, and it goes through really a thoughtful array of who's the audience for this, what are the key questions, what's the user experience going to be like in terms of how are we going to navigate around the report, what are some of the key insights we want to draw out. And it really presents, I mean, there's some very specific analyses in here. There's a really good section on advanced ranking that I found really interesting and insightful, but it's very generalizable in the sense that you can take this approach and really move it to any challenge or any client situation and use the same techniques that Jarrett talks about throughout over and over again. And it's interesting just knowing Jarrett and having collaborated together on a number of projects. I've seen him basically. This is not saying, okay, here's what you should do, but I do something different. I mean, he's walking the talk on this. That this is the process I see him use on all of his projects as well. Mm-hmm. And so it really is, kind of completely practical advice. But I like the fact that it incorporates, the Power BI is kind of ever evolving. So every month, just when we're recording this today, it's the new release for February comes out, and I like the way in each of the challenges that he's taking and incorporating new aspects of Power BI, like as he mentioned, he does a really good section on the anomaly detection and incorporating that into the overall framework and showing how you can keep a solid framework, but make that flexible and adaptable enough to encompass the new stuff that comes along. So that's really what I took, going through it twice.
That's great. That's great. How are you going there, Jarrett?
Let me go ahead and share my screen here, and I'll. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Yeah. I mean, this is the model, and this is right here is the home page. And I mean, each one of these slides was designed in PowerPoint. Using some of the techniques that I've learned throughout the not only from Sam but also from some other folks in the challenges as well, because that's where I pick up things is I try to look and dissect each one of the models and just try to pick up one or two little nuggets from each challenge, and it's amazing how far what I've picked up in the 10 or 11 challenges that we've had so far. But this was all designed right here in PowerPoint, and then I just basically have icons that I downloaded here, and then of course it goes through the whole steps on how I what website I usually use to use the icons, and typically I like to use white icons, and then if I need to add background color I can do that after the fact, but that's typically my approach with a lot of the icons. And then each one of these icons you can navigate to the different pages throughout there. What else would you like me to cover there?
I don't think we need to cover too much. I think we've talked a little bit about it. But what excites me about looking at the report here is just how comprehensive this is. How you can basically start from nothing but create such a compelling navigation experience, but also insights, within your reports. And I presume you highlight a lot the variability and the flexibility that you have available to you within Power BI as you sort of work through the content. And this is just sort of one way that you can create something super compelling in your report design and with the analytics that you complete. So I think it's great to be able to sort of dive into at least the visual aspect and the navigation aspect of things here.
Yeah, and I try to keep this as simple as I could, Sam. I mean, if I switch over to the model view, you can see here. I mean, basically, it's basically two main tables with a date table and then a measures table. So I mean, this model was pretty straightforward. So there wasn't a whole lot of data modeling that I kind of had to do for this particular entry. But I go over the finer details of that in the course. Mm-hmm. But this was a pretty simple model, and a lot of times this is how I try to keep my models as clean and as concise as possible, just not only for the user experience, but also for the developer experience as well. Because if something happened to me or whatever, and somebody else had to jump into a model, I'm very confident that they'd be able to see not only what I was doing and be able to pick up from where I left off.
Well, that is such a, and we've gone are the days, I feel now, where you need these complex models. Like in most cases, and we discuss this so often in the forum. I know that is that it's about simplifying your model, and you can do that. A lot of that work happens in the query editor, right, Brian? Where something that you've really promoted of late as well. Like so much of Power BI development is getting the base foundation set up well, and it's good to know that in this particular course that is really highlighted in a very clear way, because that's what everyone should be aiming for, right? Is to make the model as simple and as intuitive as possible.
Yeah, it really struck me, when I delved into this report, that I looked at that model, and you can look at that model, that simple, basically 3-table model, and say, well, how insightful can that really be in the analysis? But Jarrett, if you could just jump down to some of the advanced ranking analysis and the anomaly detection, it's remarkable for a simple model as that, the complexity of and the depth of insight that you're able to draw out of that. And I think, that's another thing that I think is is really a good lesson in this, which is that it doesn't have to be this huge complex model with spaghetti diagram all over the place and a lot of complex DAX. That there's a tremendous amount you can do with just a simple model and some straightforward measures.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, no, with the rankings page here, I'll just show that real quick there. I mean, each one of these quote unquote tables is not really a table, it's actually a card. And it's one measure that gives you the top 4 and the bottom 4. So without going into too many details, it was fascinating on how I came up with this with the help of one of our other enterprise DNA experts. And basically I took one of his old measures, and it was probably a couple of weeks before this challenge that he come out with something similar, a top 4 and bottom 4, whatever he was working on. And then I just took that measure and applied it to the challenge here. So once again, kind of like measure branching, or, seeing this type of measure done in a different model, and then just taking that and applying it to this. But this was a real fun one to put together with the ranking. So for those of you that are out there that are the experts, or think you're advanced in Power BI, this will be definitely one of the areas that you'll want to pay attention to is how I formed this ranking slide.
That's great. I love to hear how, that's the power of our community. I feel is being able to leverage off what others are doing. And I also think, it sounds to me like that's a perfect use case for the analyst hub as well. And so somehow we've got to try and integrate, using, everyone utilizing the community aspect of the analyst hub, and being able to save your own DAX formulas and copy other DAX formulas and add to them, etc. So, there's two brilliant aspects of our community there, which I love to hear. So, okay, well, I think we can probably round off, team. I think Jarrett, do you want to switch off your screen share, and then we'll sort of just round off? Is there any final insights? I mean, just from my perspective, Jarrett, thanks so much for putting in the effort to create this course and adding tremendous value to the team with your not only the content that you've produced here, but also on our YouTube channel and also in our forum, etc. It's such a key part of our community, so really appreciate it. And thanks to you, Brian, for being a big part of organizing this and getting the content ideas together, and actually helping us execute on getting this new and exciting content into our portal.
It's exciting. It's exciting to see this get out and see people engage with it. So
I had a fun time working with it. So it was fun putting it together, and it was definitely, you learn a whole lot from putting something together like this as well, because it kind of makes you kind of go back and think, okay, how do I really, or how do I approach this? And I kind of had to lay out kind of an outline form as well, because I just do it from, I just know when I go into it, here's my sequential order, but it made me really think about, how I do things and maybe rethinking how I do things. So it was definitely a learning experience for me as well.
That's great. Yeah, there's no better way to learn than to teach. I've certainly learned that over the years for sure. Okay, well, I think we can round off there. So thanks again, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. All those who are connected to Enterprise DNA, can't wait to get this released and get everyone's feedback and really enhance what everyone is actually doing inside of Power BI. I think there's just tremendous value embedded into this particular course, and is going to make a huge difference to our community and to those who have an opportunity to work through it. So thanks again, and talk to you soon.
All right.
Thanks, Jarrett.
See you later.
Thanks.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Enterprise DNA TV. If you enjoyed the content covered in this particular tutorial, please throw the video a like. It really helps us, and we really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Enterprise DNA TV channel. We have a huge amount of content coming out all the time from myself and a range of content creators, all dedicated to improving the way that you use Power BI and the Power Platform. Lastly, check out Enterprise DNA's website. Plenty of resources and further learning that you can access very easily. All the best. Take care.